Kia ora. This is a video that you can go back to after we've had our lesson to have another look at these new words and new ideas that we are going to be using while we're learning about a bit more about sentences. There is a lot here that you'll be learning, and so I really don't think everybody will be able to take it all in at once, so we'll be doing whatever we can to work on this and to remember it all. Anyway, here's a video that you can refer back to. Rewindable learning. So we're learning to identify and create complex sentences. But to be able to do that, we need to know what a complex sentence is. We also need to be sure what a basic sentence is and what a compound sentence is. So I've got some definitions over here. Okay, so we've got basic sentence. To be complete, every sentence must have a subject, a verb, and a complete idea. So over here we've got the subject, the person or the thing, and the verb is the action in the sentence. You may also hear the word predicate. It's verb or predicate. The predicate is the part of the sentence or clause that tells us what the subject does or is. The reason it's a predicate as well as a verb is we may have the sentence, Mrs. Bellis is blue. So the verb would be is, but it doesn't tell us anything. So you need the predicate that tells us what the subject does or is, and that's blue. The feeling or the colour, the context will depend on the rest of what's happening. Okay, so we've got here a basic sentence example, and I've been talking about Sir Edmund Hillary because he fits in with our hero theme that we're currently working on. Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest. So our subject here is Sir Edmund Hillary. The verb is climbed, and Mount Everest. Mount Everest is a noun. Mount Everest is the thing that Sir Edmund Hillary climbed. That's a basic sentence. It tells us a complete idea with a subject and a verb. Okay. Next we have the compound sentences. A compound sentence contains two separate subject and verb pairs. That's why it's important that we know what a subject and a verb is. You can combine two simple sentences together with a comma and a coordinating conjunction to make one compound sentence. Now, a coordinating conjunction is a particular word that you can use to join. And there's a bit of an anagram called fanboys, and I will be showing you that on another slide. But for example, we all know that a conjunction is and. Another one that we use quite often is for or but. These are the coordinating conjunctions that go in a compound sentence, and I will talk to you about the rest of them at another time. But here are two examples of compound sentences. Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest, and he is the world's most famous climber. They are two separate sentences joined together. Sir Edmund Hillary is a hero, and he is the world's most famous climber. Both those sentences stand alone on their own. They don't need the and. They could just have a full stop and begin a new sentence. However, we're moving towards longer sentences. Okay, now here's where it gets a little bit tricky because we need to understand clauses. A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. Okay, so like a sentence really, isn't it? Okay, so for a complex sentence, they need to contain an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. So to break that down a bit, independent means standalone. Independent means it needs to go with the other sentence to make sense. Okay, so an example of a complex sentence is Sir Edmund Hillary is definitely a hero. He is also so much more than that. If I tried to say he is also so much more than that, we don't know what that is, so it wouldn't work as a sentence on its own. It must be joined to the other part of the sentence. And that is what makes it complex, because the dependent clause, he is also so much more than that, must be with the independent clause, the standalone part. Sir Edmund Hillary is definitely a hero. Now, another thing to think about as we go on and begin to get better at writing and identifying our complex sentences is the subordinating clause or the adverbial clause. An adverbial clause is a group of words which plays the role of an adverb. An adverb modifies the meaning of an adjective, verb, or other adverb. So it needs to still contain a subject and a verb. And I've got an example of that down here where we've got Sir Edmund Hillary was the first person to climb Mount Everest. And here is the adverbial clause, although he was not alone. Tenzing Norgay was at the top with him. I could take that part out and it would still make absolute sense. So if I took that adverbial clause out, it would say Sir Edmund Hillary was the first person to climb Mount Everest. Tenzing Norgay was at the top with him. Makes perfect sense. However, I want to make very interesting and informative sentences, so I've added words to create an effect for my audience. I've added the part that says, although he was not alone. It needs to go with the first part because it adds on to describing how he climbed Mount Everest. He was not alone, so it's adding to that. We will spend a lot of time on this, going over these concepts so that we can understand them and become great complex sentence writers.